What's up, friends? Today's video will be a bit different and more serious. Are any of you familiar with the cult classic film from 1982, Poltergeist? It is an awesome and creepy movie. Creepy in more ways than one. If you know the film, you might also know the controversy of the poltergeist curse. A curse rumor started out over the filmmakers using real human skeletons for the film. I mean, in my opinion, as long as the deceased gave consent for their skeleton to be used in the film, I don't see an issue, but nonetheless, this rumor has spread due to the deaths of 4 actors across all 3 films' productions. These victims were Dominique Dunne, Will Sampson, Gillian Beck, and Heather O'Rourke. But today, we will be discussing Dominique Dunne and Heather O'Rourke, and who they were and how they died. For those of you who don't know, I'll quickly summarize the film Poltergeist. Poltergeist surrounds a family as they move into a new home. A home built on top of a cemetery where only the headstones were moved. As a result, the house is haunted by ghosts, who in turn target the youngest member of the family, Carol Ann. They needed her to show them to the light. The poltergeists kidnap and hold Carol Ann hostage before her rescue, and the house is collapsing. That's really the plot in a nutshell, but I recommend watching the movie and forming your own opinion. Now, let's discuss Dominique Dunne first. Dunne played Dana Freeling in the film, the older sister of Robbie and Carol Ann Freeling. Dominique Dunne was born in Santa Monica, California, the daughter of Ellen Beering and Dominique Dunne, a producer, actor, and writer. She had a brother who's also an actor named Griffin. Fun fact, in the 2015 Poltergeist remake, the character of Griffin, who replaces Robbie, could also be a tribute to Dominique, whose Griffin being named after Dominique's brother. Dominique went to the University of Colorado to study acting, but she decided to leave and build her acting resume instead. It was a good choice in the end, since she landed her first gig, and it would eventually build up to her landing a major role in Poltergeist. It wouldn't be long though until she met her violent boyfriend, John Sweeney. Dominique would meet Sweeney at his place of work at Ma Mason at a party in 1981. Not many weeks later, she would move in and live with Sweeney. Sweeney was prone to jealousy though, and after a stream of fights, the relationship would rip itself apart. She was so abused that her appearance in Hill Street Blues in 1981 was natural, no makeup at all. Dominique would never get to see the popularity of Poltergeist because on October 30th, 1982, during a fight, John Sweeney strangled Dominique to the point of unconsciousness. Sweeney told Packer to call the police, and when police arrived, Sweeney met them at the driveway with his hands in the air and stated, "I killed my girlfriend and I tried to kill myself." After 5 days of being brain dead, she was removed from life support and passed away. Sweeney only served 2.5 years after being released. That's a joke. 2.5 years for taking the life of a 22-year-old with a whole life ahead of her. He found work quickly, where he was driven away by a rightfully angry family of Dominique. He since changed his name like a coward, and his whereabouts are unknown. Dominique's death hit her father extra hard. He would fight to know Sweeney's location, but he knew doing so would be an endless endeavor. He had to let Dominique go, which included stopping his manhunt for Sweeney. Dominique will always be remembered for her kind heart with loving animals and her passion for her craft. Remember guys, please let someone know if you or you know someone else who is a victim of abuse. You can remain anonymous, and it could save a life. Dominique is buried at Westwood Village Memorial Park Cemetery. Dominique left our world at just 22, and Heather would not long unfortunately follow. Heather Michelle O'Rourke was born on December 27, 1975 in San Diego, California, to Kathleen, a seamstress, and Michael O'Rourke, a construction worker. Heather was a gifted soul from birth. She was in fact approached by Steven Spielberg, who asked for her name. She demonstrated amazing stranger danger skills and said, "My name is Heather O'Rourke," she said, "but you're a stranger and I can't talk to you." Something about Heather struck Steven. He knew he had to cast her in his new film. Although she failed her first audition, Steven kept her around and casted her as one of the most iconic faces in horror, little Carol Ann Freeling, the little girl being targeted by demon ghosts in the film. Despite her young age, she did fantastic. Everyone loved her, and they even let her keep the goldfish used during filming. Heather could also be seen in Happy Days and Webster. She claimed she wanted to be a movie director when she grew up, something that we will never be able to experience when things turn sour. When Heather was diagnosed wrongfully with Crohn's disease after experiencing flu-like symptoms and swelling of her hands, despite this, she was still able to record Poltergeist 3. Heather actually didn't like Poltergeist 2, saying it wasn't scary. Her role in Poltergeist is so well known that "They're Here" is ranked as number 69 on the American Film Institute's list of 100 movie quotes, and Pop Sugar included the line on their list of 100 greatest movie quotes. If you look closely in Poltergeist 3, you can notice her cheeks are quite puffy. This was due to the medication she was taking, medication for the wrong disease. It's even sadder to know she was very self-conscious about this, something I can relate to. Things would get worse. Nothing Heather kept in her stomach stayed in her stomach. She cried out to her parents that she didn't feel well, her hands were freezing and blue, and she ended up collapsing onto the ground. An ambulance was called. Heather was such a sweetheart. She said she was fine and didn't want to miss school, but of course she needed emergency care. In the ambulance on the way to the hospital, Heather suffered cardiac arrest and died on the operating table at 2:43 p.m. She died at 12, just 12 years old. She never even got the chance to begin her life. Heather's death was so tragic, to the point where the idea of trashing Poltergeist 3 was a real thing. The movie was almost canceled, but MGM had to have that money, so the film was released a couple months after her death. At the end of the film, you can see one of the main characters carrying Heather just before the credits. This wasn't Heather though. This was another girl in the Carol Ann wardrobe. Heather died before the scene could be filmed. Poltergeist 3 is dedicated to Heather. Since Poltergeist came out before Dominique was murdered, the film was not dedicated to her. Although in my own little world, I would dedicate the movie to her. Her cause of death was cardiac arrest and septic shock, partially due to a misdiagnosis. A private funeral was held for O'Rourke on February 5th in Los Angeles. Heather is interred at Westwood Village Memorial Park Cemetery. Both Heather and Dominique rest together in the same cemetery. Remember, this is not a sad place. This is a place where we can instead remember the lives these girls led and the legacies they both lived. They will live on through our memory and love. May Dominique Dunne and Heather O'Rourke rest in peace.